Okay, everybody should be able to hear me. Some of y'all are on mute, but you should be able to hear me. Allie, just shake your head yes if you can hear me. Okay, perfect. All right, so we do this training every Wednesday at 10, unless I'm teaching. Next Wednesday I am teaching, so I'm going to do it later in the evening. And I've once done a training at 11 p.m. just to show y'all that I'm up till midnight. And last night I was up till midnight doing templates for a couple agents. And then Allie, I think I did yours this morning, if I'm not mistaken. So that's my commitment to you guys. So when I tell you I'm going to do it, we'll do it. And we'll always have training Wednesday. And because of the 24 hours in a day, I'll find a way to always have it for y'all. So worst case, it'll be recorded. But today's training is on safety, and I'm presenting, I'm pretty sure, in just a second, and you'll be able to see that when it comes to realtor assaults, it's crazy. And all I did this morning was do Realtor Assaults 2021, and it talks about men and women that are assaulted regularly in real estate. And if you think about it, like we did at open house on Labor Day, that's fine. We did that open house on Labor Day, and we had 20 agents. We had 20 agents that that came to that open house for training. And even with that many agents, you basically saw where there were people that were going upstairs that nobody was with, and because of that, that creates a safety issue. So I always tell, just talking about sellers, I always talk to sellers when I list their home and say, hey, you should always check your windows at night when you come back from an open house. Never let anybody in that doesn't go through that electronic key box. And I've got probably 20 of those electronic key boxes out being borrowed, but I'd rather you have an electronic key box. There's donuts in there. I'd rather you have an electronic key box than put a combo on a house, because just as much as we're susceptible to being assaulted, so is a seller. So I always say that in my listings. And about 4 months ago, I listed a person's house. I helped him in 2003, and we did an open house training. I think Paul was there, and I think Paul was actually doing the open house when two guys walked in. One guy went upstairs. The other guy kind of distracted whoever the agent was, and there was multiple agents there, but the two people were cons, and the one went upstairs and went into the master and just rummaged through all my seller's belongings that were on the box above the clothing. And earlier in the day, my seller had texted me and said, hey, I'm going to swing by the house and grab something. And I was like, oh yeah, don't worry about it. It's open. Just walk on in. I've got a few agents there. Well, he went in to grab something out of his master closet, and it was like watches that were heirlooms that were worth, $20,000-$30,000. If he would have left those, they would have been gone, because everything that was above the clothing, the racks, had been taken down. The boxes were still on the ground being rummaged through. So that's on a seller side. When it comes to us, obviously Lola has that set up for October 5th. I'm going to be going to that. We're going to Velvet Taco afterwards. That's like a social event. I've got 3 or 4 handguns I'll bring. I'm not a radical handgun person. Like, I don't strap going into the grocery store looking for a fight. I mean, I'd rather flee than shoot somebody, because I'm going to go to prison probably when I shoot somebody. Because even when you have a concealed handgun license, which I've had since '93 when the law was passed, these days when you use that handgun, you're going to go before a grand jury no matter what. And oh, look at that. We have a little Power Ranger. Oh no, that's Black Panther, isn't it? Yeah. So anyways, just know that as much as we're going to talk about ways to protect yourself, when you pull out a handgun, you really have to have a good justification. And usually the key phrase is that you were in fear of your life. And that's always something that, if you ever use a handgun, in my opinion, and I'm not a police officer, but if you're on an open house, you're showing a buyer, and you never obviously want to go down a hallway that it's the only exit is to turn around and come back through that hallway. You never want to lead the buyer first and have a buyer behind you, because when that happens, all they have to do is close the door once you enter a bedroom and lock it, and now you're confined into a room. If I scroll down here and showed you all these attacks, most of the time it's from situational awareness, where people are at an open house. They're the only ones. They're not at the front window where they're looking out, seeing people walk in, because you can always lock a door, even if you're inside, if you feel unsafe about the appearance of people walking in. But at the end of the day, in numbers is always going to reduce your percentage and statistics of getting assaulted. And again, men and women can be assaulted. It's not something that's just for one gender. We usually get our license and we get a new car or have a 4-door car. We wear nice clothing. You know, we have a watch on. And of course, when you pull up in a car and you have somebody you've never met other than their first name's Jeff and you have their cell phone, you don't know any history about that person. It could be a sexual offender. It could be a convict. And if you look down some of these, I'm not going to open each one. And Lola sent me a couple. I mean, you could, this is just this year's assaults, and it's men and women. And a lot of times it is a convict that drive into a neighborhood after being released from a prison or a jail. And there's a sign that says open house. And I mean, if you're a criminal and you don't have to break into a house, but instead you just walk into it, I don't know, that sounds like it might be a little easier, especially if when you walk in, there's only one person there. And I mean, my daughter, she's an on-site salesperson at a model home up in Salina. And last night she goes, oh, I'm going in tomorrow. And I mean, right as she went upstairs, I was like, are you going to be there alone? Because there's a lot of stories about people that are on-site salespeople at model homes that have been assaulted. And generally speaking, in a lot of those model homes, there's only one person. And so, you know, they're usually in the garage of a model home. It's been converted into the offices, and it's not where there's a window to the front door. So I mean, I've walked into probably 5 model homes in the past month. When I walk in, I knock on the door. I'm like, hey, it's Doug with DHS Realty. And like, nobody saw me walk in, and I turn the corner and they're like in a back room. And I mean, it would just scare me to death. And it does every day. My daughter is at a model home. So there's always numbers with her. She's always there with somebody else. So so if you Google later today, I mean, I don't like to freak people out, but it's very sad. I mean, I remember when I was about 12 years old, I had a relative that was a realtor in Houston. And this was before anybody was in real estate in our family. And we got a call one day that she was in like a mobile home, and she was killed and assaulted and robbed. And it was like the very first time I'd ever heard of anything like that as a 12-year-old. And of course, from that year all the way to, you know, 40 years later, at being 52, I've got friends of mine that have been stabbed as realtors. There's a realtor that was in Coppell. She was stabbed about 19 times, showing 3 homes. And the last home, the guy just whispered in her ear, I love your car so much, I'm going to kill you for it, and stabbed her 19 times. And she lived, and they found him 3 days later at a Kansas City, Missouri airport using the same license he had shown at the office when they took a picture of it. He's just crazy, but completely was legal, driver age and everything. So, so anyways, it's just good to always have situational awareness. You know, I was a firefighter for a while, and you always talk about having situational awareness. You get a 911 call of there's a domestic dispute going on. The police always go in first. The firemen always stage, and then they go in when the scene is cleared, because the last thing you want to do is go in as an unprotected person and become a patient. So I almost like to use that as an analogy to us. I mean, we have to have situational awareness, and we have a sixth sense. And that sixth sense means that when you have somebody pull up behind you, you've never met them, and you have their name and their phone number, and that's it, that if you don't think it looks right, by all means, drive off. You'll never have an issue with me about driving off, or even being in a house and getting a weird vibe and turning around and just walking out to your car, get in it and drive off, because you're not going to get a second chance. This merry-go-round only goes around once in life. And so anyway, so you can obviously, you know, we're going to go practice on October 5th at a gun range that Lola's setting up. There's multiple concealed handgun classes you can take. Actually, now you don't even need a concealed handgun license, but obviously you also don't want to buy a gun and not know how to use it, because then you almost become a liability just as much as it is that you think that you can, stop somebody that is trying to assault you. Assaults can come in many ways. It can be a robbery or worse, and it can ultimately lead into death. So always try to have somebody with you. And if you don't have a handgun, there's things like mace. I know that I can go to Home Depot today and buy a can that sprays about 40 feet to kill a wasp. Now, obviously, I'm not going to carry a big ass can when I'm showing a house that says sprays up to 40 feet. That looks weird. But there's all kinds of mace cans that can spray far enough, because you don't want to be so close to somebody that you're able to touch them. Like, for instance, there's a camera that's a taser, and it looks like a camera. But in order to be able to tase somebody that's attacking you, that means you're close enough where they could punch you in the face and knock you out. And that's not the goal. The goal is to be far away from them. And it's almost like you're running away. And as you turn, you're spraying them with pepper spray. And I don't know if you've ever had pepper spray sprayed in you, but I once went on a 911 call at the fire department where there was a domestic argument, and the husband had pulled down the drop down in a stairwell up in the attic, put himself up there, closed the stairwell, and he was in the attic hiding from the police officers. The police officers pulled that drop down about 2 inches open, sprayed pepper spray, and down here we were all crying because it's dramatically affects everybody when you spray that. So I'm not suggesting that you spray yourself, but that's actually what they do in certain services, that they have officers being sprayed so they know what it's like when you are sprayed. So I'm not recommending that, obviously, but I'm just saying, like, make sure that when you use something like pepper spray, that maybe you Google or YouTube some sites on how it affects the person that's spraying it, just getting in the atmosphere so it doesn't stop you and make you immobile. But one of the things that we do at our company that's a little different is we have forewarn. And part of my onboarding with everybody is I do 4 emails. I send you an onboarding email, I send you back agent, I send you OpCity, which is realtor.com, and then I send you forewarn. And what forewarn is it basically is what the title says. It forewarns you before you go show somebody as much as you possibly can. Hold on a second. So this is everybody that has forewarn, and it's $120 per agent a year, and I cover that. And so I get charged $10 a month every month for everybody that uses it. And I want everybody to use it because I want to go to bed at night knowing that you've had the most protection that you possibly can on my end. I can't go with everybody on every showing, and I can't be there like as a bodyguard. So you can see that, I have a couple pages down here of people. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and there's 20 on each page. But you can see some people like Charles Medicina, Marlo, she probably just hasn't done it yet. But every time I log in to add somebody new, I resend the activation to them, because the goal is that when I open this, that everybody's going to have it activated. And so I always do that. I'm just doing this right now just to show y'all. So you can see there's some agents that aren't utilizing this, and it's a free service. So I'm only going to do these right here, and then I'm going to basically so what I do is when I added you, I put in your name, your email, and your phone number, and then you got an email, and then you set it up, and then you have an app on your phone where if somebody called you, you could look up their phone number. So now I'll go to it one more time, and I'll plug in a phone number, and it'll show you kind of what I'm talking about, because actually on this app, it's on your phone. So when you open it, it's going to have this right here for phone number. So I put in my phone number as a joke, 972-979-8413. So if you were showing me and it was, oh, I'm meeting a guy, you tell your significant other, oh, I'm meeting a guy named Doug at 6 p.m. And that's all you know. Well, it'll always be good to plug my number in first. And when you hit search, it's going to pull up anything that's tied to that number. So that's me, and that's my wife. That is our address. The address for Doug is Mouse Smith. That's my dad. He used to live there in Castle Pines about 12 to 20 years ago. So it's not always accurate. When you open up my name, you're going to see It says phone records, address. It says yellow that there's a criminal infraction. It says no court records, 5 property records, and 7 vehicles. So obviously you want to go to the criminal record to see if I'm an assaulter or something. And it says that I got a speed ticket in San Diego, and I wasn't even in San Diego that year. So it says a little more in depth when, let's see, maybe it'll do it there. No, okay. On the app, it says that actually it was in San Diego. And I wasn't in San Diego during that time frame. So because my name is so common, it pulls up things that might not be accurate. Now, your husband's a police officer, right? Huh? Yes. Yeah. So that's always good. But, you know, not everybody has a husband that's a police officer. So that always is great for him to go with you on anything. It'll show aliases, you know, but the neat thing about it is, I don't know, about a month ago, I forget who it was in our office, they pulled this up and it said 21 possible criminal activity. When you clicked on it, it was like multiple assaults of an adult. And it was like in the last year. And then it just kept going backwards. But it wasn't like 30 years ago. So like I got arrested when I was in high school. I spent the night at Lou Stare a couple nights. Well, I mean, that didn't even come up because it's been expunged. But again, if it did come up and I was going to be your buyer, it would say something like criminal mischief, you know, something stupid. That's your call, whether you want to go and say, well, he's 52. That happened in 1991. I don't know. I mean, that's your call. But obviously, if it's something dramatic, then, I mean, you don't want to do that most likely. And that's where you just cut bait. And if it's an Op City lead, you release them, and then you don't ever have to worry about it. Okay. Now, one of the things that you can also do is you can pull people up by their name without their phone number. And I don't know if you saw that or not. So again, you'll open it up on your app, and that's how I do it. And right here, if you don't have a phone number, it says search by name. So if you click on that, you do have to do a little bit of varying. I don't even know if it's going to come up as Doug, but I've done it before. You sometimes have to get a little more specific. Maybe type in Plano. Let's see if I come up. Because it's a real common name. So it might take a second. But yeah, you can see that there's a crap load of Doug Smiths. Okay. So as you scroll down, what you're doing is you're trying to find, you know, now, let's say that you were going to do an expired, a listing that was on the market and it terminated. And now you're trying to see if you could get their business. Well, when you pull up the expired in the MLS, it's going to have their name and their address, but not their phone number. So this might be a way you click on, oh, maybe it's, I mean, I don't even know if I'm in here, but, oh, there I am right there. So if you click on it, it is going to show you the phone number. And then you click on the phone number, and you could probably text me at that number and see if I got it, which I would, because that's my number. And you could say, hey, this is Tabitha. I noticed your home was expired, and, you know, I'd love to be able to, or I dropped some information off on your front porch. I'd love to set up a time to show you how I'm different than the agent you had it listed with, or, you know, whatever. But normally what we're using this for is to look up people for protection purposes. So that's going to be one way. The company I was at, Mal's company, there were some Dallas police officers there. They obviously would do, you know, training. Maybe your husband would want to do a training deal one time. I don't know if that's your call. And we would have him come and do it in person. Probably be the best one on Fridays, but that's usually, you know, a good draw because it's about our safety. And again, this is one of the only professions that that you will get a phone call, leave your family to go show somebody with a first name and a phone number, and that's it. And so there's been some cases if you, you know, all you do is Google and do realtor assaults. There was a case where a model home in McKinney, this is about 10 years ago, there was a girl that got a phone call early in the morning, about 10 when it opened, that a guy wanted to look at her property at 6 p.m. So she just felt weird when the phone call ended, and she called her boyfriend, and he came over and was in the model home at 6 p.m. They kind of walked out the front door. They're just standing there, and a car pulls up, and nobody got out of the car. It just kind of sat there but in park. And they were kind of thinking how that's kind of strange. So the car drove off. They went back inside. Well, usually on a model home, there's another model home across the street, like a competitor. And so that car made a U-turn and pulled in front of the other one. Well, they went back inside theirs, and they're at the window kind of looking out. They see this guy get out and walk in. And as they're debating on what he could be doing in that house, he was doing it. And that lady died. And it was a big case. It was in McKinney. And again, I think there was only one person in that home as a model home. And the thing that the girl that called her boyfriend or husband, I forget what it was just a sixth sense that just something wasn't right. And that's why we also say that when we do open houses, that we do it as a buddy team. Number one, we do it for safety always. But number two is that if somebody comes in and wants to look at another house across the street, you don't have to lock this home up, but you can have somebody keep it open while you go to the next house, and then you can come back. So anyway, so that's the safety, and you can Google like safety gadgets for realtors. There's a keychain with but again, you're getting too close, and there's mace, and obviously when there was a Colorado Springs realtor about a year ago. I was teaching at Champions, kind of talking about safety. I went home and it was just on Fox News or Drudge Report or something, and it said that she opened up her house at 11:30 for an open house. About 11:35, the door knocked. She went and opened it. It's a guy, comes in, they're at the kitchen. She's getting to know him. They're having a conversation. Actually calls the lender. He gets pre-approved in the kitchen on speakerphone with the lender. Gets off the phone and he's like, hey, can you show me around? So she walks into a bedroom first. He walks in behind her, closes the door, locks it, pulls out a knife about this long and some rope about 4 times that long. But she had a handgun. She pulled it out. She missed him. She shot and he scrambled. But I mean, if she didn't have something to protect her, she would have been dead probably. And if she had 2 people there, it probably would never happen. Maybe, but probably not. And that's why it's always good to have a buddy system. I mean, if it came worse to worse and y'all couldn't find somebody, I would show up just to be there and do work or something or talk to people. But so again, I mean, I'm just going to Google, but I mean, you can basically, I mean, it's just crazy. And again, I just did realtor. First, I did realtor assault by gender earlier today, just because a lot of people think it's just one gender or another. It goes across both borders. So realtor assaults in 2021. When you put in realtor assaults, it probably helps. You know how to spell.
I went to Trader Village this weekend, and there was this little stand, and they had like over a dozen little lipstick pins.
Yeah.
The hat with the brass knuckles on the end, where you take it off and you can swing it at them and run.
Yeah.
They had combs. They had screwdrivers.
At like a realtor expo or something, or just a
little brass knuckles and knife.
At what event?
At Trader's Village.
Oh, at Trader's Village. Oh, yeah. Right.
Stuff that I've never seen before in my life that they pulled out, and it's like everything, like lip liner, eyeliner, lipstick, hair combs, everything.
Doug, can I add a few things?
Kind of taser to it.
Oh, yeah. No, for sure. Yeah.
Hey, Doug.
So I mean, this is, there's all kinds of articles. Actually, Realtor.com has a big thing on what to do for safety, and most of it is what we're talking about. The biggest protection, in my opinion, is going to be that Forewarn app. And that's why I hope everybody has it. And I resend it, but I did read this already this morning, but it's just talking about how our job is risky. And it talks about percentages and of who's been attacked. And I mean, there's just so many stories about it. So just remember that when you go show somebody, they call you and say they want to look at $1 million house. Immediately we go, that's a $30,000 commission. I'll leave everything I'm doing. And so you leave your family, they turn around like, where'd Doug go? Oh, I don't know. Some guy named Jeff. That's it. And nobody knows what address or nothing. And so, calm down a second and know that it's your life. And people will take you for granted like that. People are doped up on drugs. There's opiate and narcotic shortages. I was up in Frisco once, and we got a call. I was at this station. I was a lead medic, and this guy was going 1 mile an hour the wrong way on Preston Road. And he was on GHB, which is a drug that, just you're not even knowing what's going on. Literally parked the medic and knocked on his window as I'm walking up Preston. I'm like, can you put it in park? Like, hey, Clay, this is Clay. This is my daughter's boyfriend. He came in for the weekend. So anyway,
hey, Doug, can I add
just
something
never know
real
what
quick?
people are thinking. I mean, I know people that have gotten news they're getting divorced and they want to take it out on people. They fail a test at Champions and they want to find out where I'm at and, shoot. I mean, you never know. I was teaching at a school the other day and the police showed up and I was like, hey, can I help you? And they're like, well, we got a 911 call and it was from a cell phone. We don't know if it was from here, but we kind of triangulated it between Central Market here and Taco Bell. And I was teaching a night class and we were on a break and I was like, what? I don't think there's anybody here, but let me ask. So I kind of looked in the room. I was like, did anybody dial 911? Because I always talk about safety in the beginning. And like, no. Because I was like, I don't think it was here. So they left. So when class came back, I was like, just so you know, the police were here. I already asked. Nobody called 911. This guy in the back was like, I don't know. You think it could have been that guy that came in at the break and pulled a girl by his hair, out to the parking lot? And I was like, that was probably it. And so like I literally, the police officer hadn't left the parking lot yet. I'm running down to stop him. And I said, hey, can you turn around? I think they're in the parking lot. And so back where I park, he was in the car with her and the police, were there. So you just want to, you just always want to know that all you got to do is turn on the news. And I mean, it's just random. Just life is so. Well, I don't know if he tried, but she called 911 because it was it was obviously an assault. I mean, he pulled her out with her hair, but I don't know. I didn't get involved with the circumstances. So anyways, these are just some basic concepts. It says, first off, you usually do work alone. You work with people you don't know. This isn't rocket science. And then it talks about a case of life and death. And it says, consider the case of a real estate broker working an open house in Tinley Park, Illinois. She was alone in the house with a prospect named Stanley Keller. He was an ex-con. Keller asked the family broker to show him upstairs. As she was leading the tour, she told police she began to vibrate as she was being tased. And at that point, she saw a stun gun and he escaped and they found him. And he was a sicko. And then you see the next case, a suburban real estate agent was in a model home. And again, sometimes model homes will close a day during the week. And if you ever went into the model home, you could say, hey, you mind if I hold it open the day that y'all close it? And anybody that walks in, we work out some type of business plan. That's probably what's happening here because it says it was an agent in a model home. And it just says that guy walked in and basically was trying to rob him. And the 911 operator heard the guy go, where's your money? This is a realtor that was gunned down while trying to evict 2 tenants. I mean, that's number one, that's not your job. And that's never going to be a winner when people are getting evicted or foreclosed on. In this one, a man assaulted a female agent. She was going to show him a nearby property and had him follow her in his car when they arrived. It gets weird. So, my point is, and then here it just talks about what you could do. And obviously some type of self-defense weapon, the smartphone app, Forewarn, that's what we have. Implementing proactive agent safety measures. I think that's always going to be being in twos. And again, you could also say, hey, Tabitha, I'm going to be showing a house tonight from 6 to 6:30. You mind if I call you at 5 till 6 and just put you on speakerphone and you don't even have to say anything, but I'm just going to have it in my purse or whatever and just be talking to the client. Again, if you fear for your life, jump in your car and drive off and say, oh, you know what? I just got a phone call. Go outside and just get in your car and drive off. I don't care. It's fine. You're never going to have anybody that, and then it talks about what are some of the weapons, that are the choice of realtors percentage wise. And pepper spray is obviously something that is pretty easy to get. It's just, we want to make sure that it doesn't come back on you somehow. A firearm, if you know how to use it. A pocket knife is something that really you'd have to get probably pretty close to somebody. And I'm sure that your husband talks about things like, that if you're that close, then you could get hurt because they could swing at you or something. Baton, I think that's a little extreme. You're going to be carrying that around like, Fear of the Walking Dead.
Can you hear me?
All right. So anyway, so that's kind of that. And again, the safety thing is not something that's like an hour long, presentation. But again, I do like to cover it so that we're on the same page. Did anybody have any? Yeah, go ahead.
So when Doug was doing an open house, the one I went to in Carrollton,
Yeah.
well, Doug had left and several of the people had left. It was just me, Dave, Oscar, and a few others. And I think they had left, and it was just me, Oscar, and Dave. And I had kind of stuck around just to see if anybody was going to show up at the open house at the end. And this guy came in. I don't know who bought the house, but this guy came in, and he went upstairs 3 times. And then he went outside a few times and kind of acted strange when he came in, and we tried to talk to him. He didn't really want to make conversation.
Yeah.
And then he went outside, and he was not on a cell phone talking to himself out in the backyard. And thankfully, I was with Dave and Oscar, and that made me, I'm glad I was there. I wouldn't be there by myself anyway, but
Right.
it made me feel better to have men around, because I think if I would have been by myself, it would have been a story.
Yeah.
So, just so you know.
Yeah, and I mean, in that kind of situation, I mean, hypothetically, if you were by yourself, you're just like, yeah, take a look upstairs. I'll be right here, and just
That's what I
always.
did. I stayed downstairs.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and you always want to have that's the thing about a single story home with no split bedrooms. That means that one hallway is all the bedrooms, and so there's nothing wrong with saying, you know what, if you'll go ahead and take a look down there, I'm just going to stay right here, but all the bedrooms are down there, and you just kind of wait, and if they have a question, you can always walk down, but you always want to like give yourself and you don't want to be weird, but I mean, also you want to be where you're safe, and there's nothing, I'm always going to be your advocate. So we're never going to, all right. So, I think I think these trainings have gone pretty well. I mean, we're a different firm. We're never going to be like a corporate type of company. So I like this. And again, it doesn't matter how many people join in for training. I didn't see that we had other people, but I always want to do like just the basics of what we use every day. And that is MLS and zip forms. And so obviously, let's say that somebody did call and it was Judy. Hey, this is Doug Smith with DHS Realty. And I usually don't say that. I just go, this Doug. Oh, my name is Judy. I'm looking at 123 Easy Street. Want to know if I could take a look at it? Absolutely. Is this your cell phone? Yeah. What's your email? Judy@judy.com. When do you want to look at it? Oh, I don't know. I was thinking, is it available? Yeah, it's available. You want to look tonight or Saturday? I mean, I never even go into MLS. So you establish a relationship on the phone. Ask her, so are you in a month-to-month lease, or no, my lease expires the end of October, and I just kind of getting started. Well, have you ever talked to a lender before? No. Well, I'm going to put you on speaker and send you a lender that'll pre-approve you for free. There's no obligation. You can actually use whoever you want, but at least that way I can go in and do a search for you and kind of get a ballpark. So she goes, oh, okay, cool. So I send her that, and then I get off the phone, and then I tell her I'll see you tonight at 6. And then I say always one more thing. Hey, by the way, give me your realtor's name so I can protect them in case you like the house tonight. I want to make sure I don't take a commission from your realtor. Oh, I don't have a realtor. Oh, my realtor's Tabitha. I was like, well, where's she at? And then I get off the phone. So I don't do things like, have you signed anything? You can, that's no problem. I just don't. Okay. So then you would go in the MLS. Now, everything I'm doing here, I do on my phone. So everybody has their own login.
Doug, can you hear me?
And everybody has their own password. When you log in, you'll probably get these little squares, and you always hit the top left square, and that's matrix. Sometimes it doesn't go there. It goes right into this screen. When you go into this screen, it's pretty easy, because if she gave me a specific property,
He can't hear us?
So it would be easy to just go 8005 and just do FALL. If I hit enter, if it was in the MLS, it'll pull it back all the way to 2003. Okay. So if it said active right there instead of sold, then I'd click on it. And when I click on it, I'd scroll down, and I would be able to basically right here, I would text Bill Sabino and say, hey, Bill, this is Doug Smith with DHS Realty. I'd like to show 8005 Palmetto Circle. Is it available? He goes, yes. Most likely it's going to be with showing time. You can see at the bottom, it says that.
I'm having a really hard time getting hold of other things.
Yeah. Welcome to real estate.
Huge problem for me.
So. Yeah. No, and that's fine. I mean, and that's, I mean, yeah, it's unfortunate. That's why people that come here see how I am, and they generally try to emulate it. So we do respond quickly, but not everybody's like that. And I mean, it's just awful. But yeah, it's going to happen, and you just got to keep doing it. So I always try, I text them, I call them, and I email them. And then about 4 hours later, I call them, text them, and I email them. And then I just do something like, hey, I am going to show it tonight, but I'm not going to drive out there unless you let me know it's available. I'm just trying to put some pressure on them. I probably will go ahead and show it if it's showed active, and then I'm going to make an appointment with CSS. So CSS is showing time. I just say CSS because that's what they used to be called. There's an app, there's a website, and there's a phone number. I've used all three before. So sometimes when you go on the app, it'll only say that, like, if you wanted to look right now, if I go to the app, it might not let me. But if I call in, I could say, hey, this is Doug. I know that on the app, it's saying a 15-minute window. I was wondering if I could hold while you call the seller. I'm out front. And if they say they can't do that, then hang up and call back, because they do. I mean, it's incredible. These people, it's showing time. Like, I had this lady that she said that to me. I go, well, I got declined today, 5 to 6. I was wondering if you could just call. I'll be on hold. Anytime today's good. I just don't want to keep making appointments for every hour to get rejected. She's like, oh, we don't do that. I'm like, the hell you don't? I was like, I've called y'all for like 20 years. And so I just hung up on her. I called back and the lady did it like that. So sometimes it's just that persistence of calling back and catching the right person. So anyway, so he would say it's available. And again, what I would do is I would check to see right next to the clock if there's 3 sheets of paper, because that's a transaction desk, and that would be like the seller's disclosure. I'd probably print it to meet Judy for the first time to make sure that, you know, she's impressed by some data that I bring her. I print this, and all you do by printing it is go to print. And when you hit print, you want to probably have the agent full report for you. And then you just hold the control button down and you pick customer full report. That's the one that you give her that doesn't have the agent's information. Okay. If you want, and to be like really, you know, crazy informative, you could go into a CMA and bring it. I always do that on the first house I meet somebody at. I give them a customer report, the tax roll, and a CMA. And then anything that's loaded as a transaction desk document. So to print the tax roll, right above the picture, all you do is hit tax. And once you hit tax, you print it. Okay. Listing, you go back there. Again, right next to the clock is going to be 3 sheets of paper. If it's there, click on that and print it. And then obviously to do a CMA, if this subdivision is Crystal Creek, you're going to hover over search, go residential quick. And there's multiple ways to do a CMA. Okay. Is everybody good? Okay. There's multiple ways to do a CMA. Number one, this is set up for a buyer, so we need to go ahead and do active, contingent. I check these marks, and then I go pending, sold. So if you're on the phone with me, what I usually say is, hey, active's marked, skip coming soon, mark the next 3, skip the next 2, mark the next 2, and then change them 0 to 180. Okay, you can do a CMA multiple ways. One way is you can go right here and type in the subdivision. And you put an asterisk, which basically like wild cards that name, but Crystal Creek could be in multiple cities. So then you want to go over here and type in Plano. So it went from 8 to 2. So that means that 6 other ones have Crystal Creek somewhere in DFW. Well, I don't want to pull those if I'm going to be giving that to Judy. I don't want to look like an idiot when she looks at it. She's like, listen, Fort Worth. What? And we're in Plano. So that's one way. And of course, all you have to do is hit results. You'll hit select all and hit quick CMA and print that. Okay. That's one way to do a CMA. The other way to do a CMA is, let's say nothing came up under the subdivision. I could go right here, and in this drop down, even though it has these predefined, you can put whatever you want. So you can put 4 miles, and then slowly you type in the address. And as you type it in, it'll pull it up. You select it, and now you can see 4 miles from that address, there's 945 homes. That's way too many, obviously. So now you can just go back up here and you can go, you know what about a mile? 67. All right. What about houses with 3 garages? So you can kind of edit it, 3 plus, and now there's 20. That's perfect. Okay. And again, you'd hit results. You check mark the box above 1. It check marks all of them, and you hit quick CMA and you print that. All right. The other way to do it, which is kind of cool, is number 1, we'll clean this out, is you do a map search. And all you do is you click on map right there. Okay, so it says clear map. So you'd hit map search. And when the map pulls up, number 1, that's like the entire, that's a ginormous area. So we want to kind of zero in. All right. So what I always do is if you want to jump right to an address, you can just type it in. So now we're pretty close. That's it. Okay. Now I'm going to go out a little. All right. So I know that this is kind of the area. So I can do a couple things up here. I can hit that crayon, and I could crayon. That's you drawing it yourself. Okay. And once you do like that, you let go and it basically has just done that area. Okay, so that's with the crayon. Okay, so when you go right there, you can hit delete shape, and now you can go, you know what about a square? So you click the square, and that's where you would go like this. See what I'm saying? So just different ways to do it. Okay. But when you go into the map, at first it's going to be big, and you can always type in this address and kind of get to the area, and then you can just start messing around with this stuff. But again, I like the crayon because, and then anytime you want to say, you know what, I don't like that, then you just delete it and you start over. But this crayon's pretty cool because a lot of times you'll have somebody that, you know, like for instance, let's make it even a bigger. Okay, there's some people that say, let's even go a little bigger. Okay, there's some people that say, you know what, I want to be between 75 and, you know, George Bush and McDermott. Well, it's hard to make that a perfect square, but with the crayon, it's pretty cool because you can go like this. Oh, let me click it first. Anyways, you know what I'm trying to say. Yeah, it's always like that. Oh yeah, there you go. So you could just go like this, and you could go down. You know, what if they said, I don't want that little pocket right there. Okay, I mean, it's kind of cool. You just mess around with it, and whenever you go back, you just let go. And then whenever you see the red dot, if you want to, you know, delete it. But it's always going to be just, you know, practicing. So again, that's going to be when I meet her. Okay. So again, just to make sure we're on the same page, we have search residential quick. We have search residential detailed. Leslie, a couple months ago, she had some Section 8 housing, and she had called me to figure out where to do the search. And I just kind of goofed around, but I went to residential lease, but instead of quick, I went to detailed. And on detailed, if you scroll down a little, it's going to say housing type. That's not it. Where is it? Oh, right here, lease type. And you can see it says government subsidy. And so you click on it. And right now in the entire MLS, there's only 29 government subsidy rentals. But you've gotten pretty good at that, right? The Section 8? You know? Yeah. Well, they're a nightmare. I would just let it go. But a lot of people won't. Yeah, you'll let it go most likely. But anyways, if that's what you want to do, then you click that, and then you do your search. And if you have some, what I would do before I show it, I would text the agent and just say, hey, this is Judy. I'm about to show your listing at 123 Easy Street for, you know, $1,800. I see it's a government subsidy. Do y'all do Section 8? And then don't ask me because I don't even know how to do it. I've never done one. So you would have to research it. But the detailed is on every search, and it just gives you some more criteria to pick from. The problem is you don't want to get too picky on the criteria, because doing a criteria search is only as good as the listing agent that puts it in and picks that criteria. So like for this house, if it was on the market, it might say wood floors, or I might forget to say wood floors. Well, you have a buyer that you only want to find wood floors. You might not get my house if I didn't put wood floors in the listing, if you search by wood floors. Obviously, a pool is easy because people put yes or no on a pool, but it's kind of like when people put granite, like, yeah, it could have Corian or granite or Formica. And if you picked only granite, it could be that an agent didn't know the difference between Formica and granite. So now you're not showing them. Does that make sense? So, you know, that's your call. I get kind of specific, but I don't get too crazy. The biggest thing is sometimes on acreage. And so on the residential quick, if you have somebody that wants acreage, I would just go over here. And if they said, yeah, I want anything between, you know, 20 and 50 acres, I would just go 20 plus. And that pretty much covers you. Instead of going to one area where you pick like 1 to 5, 5 to 10, 10 to 20, that's too confusing. And that way you're going to catch everything. All right. So that's search. Multifamily. Some people have asked me about multifamily. When you click on it, you can see that those are your options down there. So this would be somebody that wants a full duplex. Okay. Maybe buy one and rent the other side. All right. You can see that in the entire MLS, there's only 92 full duplexes. Okay. Apartments usually aren't in here. Again, there's only 17. There's much more. They're just not listed. So that's usually.
To ask the best place to look for.
Where?
Is it the MLS or is there?
Well, I mean, that's what we're going to have access to, is the MLS. Yeah.
Is there any other source on?
I don't know. Yeah, I'll have to research. I have no idea. Okay, so that's residential, and then lots and acreage. That's I usually just do quick on lots and acreage because it's really not too much to again, you can see here that it has that weird acreage. So what I did do, and this is something that you can do later, is go to search lots and acreage. And when you hit quick, you're going to scroll right below the results tab. And you're going to hit this that says add. It won't say add remove, most likely. It'll just say add. When you click on it, everything on the left is going to be criteria in the MLS. And all you do is right there, you just type in ACR and it pulls up acres. And you move it to the right. You add it to this side. Now, when you hit the back button, it's going to be below your results tab. So you don't have to use this weird one here. You just go down here and you'll see that I've got acres right there. And I can just go, oh, 20 plus. Instead of doing this weird thing where I'm selecting all these. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. So that's residential lot. And then of course, a lot of people are doing leases. So residential lease, you can do quick or detailed. If you do quick, to me, it's just as good. So over here, we would do, 0-300, 3,000. I always do 0 because I don't want a tenant to ever call me and go, hey, I didn't see this one at 1750. And it's because I did 2,000 to 3,000. So that's just me. When I even do a home search, I go 0 to 500, or I go, and that I just do that. It's just like, but you don't have to. But again, it's the easiest way not to screw the pooch when you're doing a search, because everything is going to come up 0 to 3,000. Then you start going into cities. And of course, if you type in a city and it highlights it, you're good. But if there's multiple cities, you got to put a comma. Okay. And no space. All right. You got to spell it right. So you can see there's 131. Now over here, I have condos and townhomes. But again, you can search one or the other. All right. Yeah, absolutely. You can put in as many as you want. You can do a county search. You can put in 5 counties or 254. Beto O'Rourke visited when he was running for governor. Sounds like he's going to run again. Nothing like seeing somebody get their teeth cleaned on YouTube. Not going to, it's a little strange, but anyways, who is that his name? The nickname? Oh no, Beto O'Rourke. He's running for governor again. But he got his teeth cleaned on YouTube TV when he was running. I was like, that's weird. I don't know why anybody would do that. But a lot of people voted for him. All right. So anyway, that's kind of the search. Now, just to make sure we're on the same page when we do searches, because we want to, in my opinion, we want to do them this way so that you're notified when a buyer favorites a home. Any search we ever do, what I would like you to do, you do it however you want, is you hit results. We just kind of dumb it down. Results, save, new auto email. Results, save, new auto email. So right there, we hit save, new auto email, and now we're at the screen where usually this tenant buyer's already in the drop down, or you create a new one. You got to put their first name, last name, email, something in the subject line. You scroll to the bottom before you hit save, which effectively email them. I like to hit ASAP, and that means that after this initial search goes out, anytime a home gets listed that fits that criteria, they'll get an email. And that means that they might wake up in the morning and go, dang, Judy, you sent me an email at 3 a.m. And they're like, I know, that's my game, even though it's going to be on autopilot. All right, so that's MLS, okay? Zip forms, and then we'll be done. I don't know if I told y'all, but I was playing with my dog last Wednesday in the cul-de-sac, and I threw a ball that way. It goes off of, and I ended up throwing it that way too far, and a school bus hit him smack on. And yeah, he's in there right now, but he's a little golden doodle. He's about 1.5. And I saw it happen, and I just started bawling, and I called my wife as I'm running down there, and she picks up the phone. I'm like, oh my God, Ollie's dead. And she thought I said Pepper, which is our dog that's about to die. And I was like, no, Ollie just got hit by a school bus. And I walked up and I looked down at him. He's right there at that where y'all turned in. And he went like this. Like I thought it was his last breath, and blood came out. And I was parked out front. So on speaker with my wife I run back, get in my car. I drive up, the school bus had stopped. I look down and the dog's gone. And I thought they had got him. So I ran up to the school bus and I was like, did y'all pick him up? And they're like, no, he got up and ran back to another street. So I drove around the corner and this lady was playing with him. And I literally thought he was still going to be dead. Like it was just kind of shocked. So I pick him up, throw him. It was school zone. So I had to go the school zone to the ER. I'm getting directions on where they could do surgery. I walk in. I got blood all over my Tahoe still, like in the passenger side. And anyways, I guess he's a good dog. God was looking down because he's got a little bit of a chip on his lip and he's medicated. But oh my God, it was so crazy. And I actually told the vet, I was like, mortgage my house. I want him save him. I don't care what. That's not what you want to say to a vet. And I've always said, like, there's a limit, like a grand. But I mean, every time my dogs have got hurt, I'm always going, like, whatever it takes, save him. Yeah.
I think we all do that.
Oh my gosh. It was like, it was, and I have a little flash. I mean, I've seen people kill before, but my own dog, like, messed me up for the last 5 days. So, all right. So this is it forms. However you want to get into it. There's like a dozen.
He's not dead. He's fine. He's in the bathroom.
Yeah. He's just heavily medicated. Yeah. Just looks completely normal. Yeah. Oh no, I was just telling you, I randomly just tell stories. So, all right. So, so this is zip forms, however you want to get into it. But at the end of the day, and yeah, I know. I did a couple templates last night and one this morning. So whenever we go into zip forms, at some point your screen's going to turn blue. And again, the only tab you'll ever hit is the new button. If you ever need to make changes, like you get a new email, I prefer you just text me and I'll do it in 2 seconds, but I know that we haven't really messed up any templates, okay? So you can see at the top, it says templates. That's never green when you log in. The only thing green is gonna be transactions, and that's the only thing you'll ever click is the new button. When you click the new button, you have 5 boxes that pull up. We only care about the first 3: seller, buyer, lease, or a lease, no matter who the party is. So let's say that Joe Blow is a buyer and wants to write an offer up. From this point, it's pretty basic. You hit new purchase, you're going to name it. You're going to select the dot next to residential. And that's really no matter what it is. It just doesn't matter. Just make it easy and make it consistent, and it becomes muscle memory. And then you just go down here and select the appropriate template. You'll have 4 choices. You'll have a buyer, seller, tenant, landlord. And I made them about just that easy. So we know that Joe Blow is a buyer. So you click buyer, and then all you do is you scroll down and hit save. And the next screen, you'll be looking at a white summary square. And you just go 2 tabs over to documents. And when you click on documents, you'll see that we have all the forms loaded. And again, you're gonna not have to open up the IBS, but in order to make the buyer a client, we're gonna have to get them to sign a buyer rep agreement. So when you open it, you basically, I like to do all caps, you basically put in his first name and last name, and then you just go down and you click the first blank, which is today's date, and you click usually like 40 days out or 30 days. So I'm just gonna go to October and pick Halloween. And then really all you have to do is hit save, because I pre-filled the rest of the form. But I'm going to show you at the top, we already have the brokerage. We already have the Dallas-Fort Worth area. We have a begin date and an end date. Intermediary is already authorized. We have your commission for sale or lease. And boom, you go all the way to the end, and it's going to have that last line will be your information. If you ever click save and you don't see it highlighted, all you do is kind of hit out in the corner. And if it doesn't highlight, you just have to unmark a box and mark it again. The system just needs to know you made a change. And then you go and hit save again, and you just saved it. So now let's say that we're going to email it. We never had to open the IBS because it was already pre-filled. So in the left corner, you hit e-sign. We'll be done in 6 minutes. When you hit e-sign, generally speaking, you should have 2.0 as a default. I always like, even knowing that it says it, I just like to get in the habit of always selecting it. And then you hit this little sentence, select documents to include. When you hit that, it's going to list all the forms that are templated that have been possibly filled by you. We know we're right now only sending 2 documents, so we check mark the IBS. Then we hit close, and all you do is hit next. When you hit next, you're going to get a list of how to send it, and you got to have their email. So Joe Blow, I always will tell you, check mark Joe Blow on the left if the buyer. When you check mark him, it won't let you if you don't have a name and an email. So you now have to put the email. Then it'll let you check mark. Now it's a buyer rep agreement. That means you're going to sign it also. So it's good to put yourself down as a recipient also. So you're always going to be the selling agent, SELLING. That's the buyer's agent. So you're going to check mark you. And if it won't let you check mark you, then you got to put your email. That's just got my wife's email in it. But so now you see that the order is the buyer's going to get it and you're going to get it last. And that's how you want it. You hit next, and basically you just wait a second, and all the forms are going to load on the left, and there's going to be a little menu on the right. And it just takes a second, but you have everything load. So what I always do is, number one, I just like to hit this drag and drop so I have it ready. Okay, because that just kind of tells you what you need to do. It's got Joe Blow. So I'm going to scroll down and look at the bottom of each page, and you can see that it's got a prompt for Joe to initial at the bottom of every page. And there's a signature. And then I go to the bottom of the IBS, but you can see it doesn't have a prompt for him to initial there. So I have to make one. So I've got his name, that initial, I just drag it and I put it there, and there's a date, and I drag it and put it there. Okay. Now I'm going to scroll back up and I'm going to pick my name. Now I'm going to scroll down and see if I'm prompted there, and I'm not. I need initials right there. So I'm just going to drag my initial there. Because my name's there, that makes it that initial prompt. It'll also be my signature prompt because my name's there. So I am going to go to the bottom of each page, and I'm going to drag the initial. Let's say that you screw up and you accidentally, do that. All you got to do is hit that little trash can. Okay, so we're almost done. I'm just going to show you this real quick. All right, and then you go to the last page, the signature page. Well, you can see it doesn't have my signature. So again, because I'm there, this will be my signature prompt. And then I just bring the date over. Now, even though that's off a little, that's fine. It's not that big of a deal. You don't have to make it exact, but if you wanted, you can move it up a little. Then you go down to the IBS. The IBS doesn't need your initials, so you're ready. All you do is hit next and send. It just got emailed. So then you're going to be in touch with them and say, hey, Joe Blow, this is Doug. I just want to let you know, check your email, maybe in your spam or junk, but it should be some forms that are just my office forms that make it official that I'm your advocate. If you have any questions, let me know, but it's the same forms that was in my buy packet when I met you that you probably reviewed, and then boom. And that's the same way you do an offer, okay? So that's pretty much it. That's an hour, so that's kind of perfect. And then I'll answer any questions y'all have. And of course, this will be recorded, so I'm going to put it on GroupMe, but I'm going to just stop the recording. But yeah, go ahead.
I want to add something so that it will be on